Great to have you with us as we roll along. 11:18 here on KABC Radio. Behind the mic, Brad and Keith hanging out on this first day of November. Another great sports evening. We're just recapping Thursday Night Football there before the break. Time to give out some midseason grades now, Keith, and who's been impressive, who has not been impressive. Let's start here in the AFC. In the AFC West specifically, the Chiefs so far, we know they have been dominant at times this year. At other times they've been, maybe slightly vulnerable. But I don't think there's any doubt about it. Patrick Mahomes, so far in his first year starting in the NFL here, he at this point, he gets an A.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
I'm not going to give him He's an A. He's an A. It's hard to me to get an A.
You have to kind of look at this. Do guys exceed the expectations that maybe they would have had put on them at the beginning of the season? And for me, Mahomes, yes.
Yeah, he's definitely an A. You got to give him an A. He's breaking records right now as a rookie quarterback, and it's great to see. I would love to see him against, coming in a situation where they're down certain games. But that's all going to come to place where they're down and he got to drive 80 yards up the field and win the game.
We may see it in a couple weeks in Mexico City against the Rams.
We may see it, but that's what I want to see. So right now I'm going to say, I like what I'm looking at with Patrick Mahomes. He's definitely the future of the NFL. I can say that.
Yeah, I've been impressed. I think the defense, Stu, has a little bit to go. Bob Sutton's defense, they're continuing to try and mix and match things there. We'll see how it plays out. Sticking in the West, though, how about the Denver Broncos? 3-5. We've talked a little bit about Case Keenum here on this show. He's kind of underwhelmed to this point.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely is. I don't like Case. With him, I don't think he's like I think they're trying to make him out to this big-time quarterback where he's really not. Really, I think he's a backup quarterback, Brad. I really do. I'm sorry. But I really do think he's a backup quarterback in the NFL, and I don't think he's nothing more than that. Like, to be honest with you, can I see him starting on the
Minnesota caught lightning in a bottle last year?
Yes,
right?
I think he was like that.
Ever since the NFC title game, he really hasn't been the same.
No. Exactly. He's just been lucky. Let's just say what it is. I think he's just been lucky. So, when I look at him and I'm looking at what he's doing right now, I'm like, he's a backup quarterback, man. Honestly, I think Jameis Winston is a better quarterback than Casey Keenum.
They might be about the same.
They're probably about the same. But there's a lot of other quarterbacks out there, to me, that are starters.
That are better? Absolutely.
That are better than their starters. And he just lucked up and happened to be that guy.
I'll tell you this, though. If you're a Jaguars fan, you actually might be happy right now if you had Case Keenum at quarterback versus Blake Bortles.
Can you imagine?
That's an example of a team that probably would like to have his services.
Man, I don't know.
But that's not saying much.
I knew you were going to sneak that in there. Blake Bortles, I don't know. Blake Bortles, to me, he showed me something in the AFC last year. He's horrible this year. So
it's a league in which what have you done for me recently, right?
Exactly. So you got to go with, look, what have you done for me recently? I don't know if he's that guy right now. So yeah, you may be you have a point, man.
Biggest disappointment in the AFC at this point. Let's go there. This probably is an easy one. Got to be the Raiders, right?
Oh my God.
Biggest disappointment so far this season.
What a disappointment the Raiders are,
man. Who had them at 1-7? And
I'm going to say
this back getting blown out to the Niners, who are at their third string quarterback. That's as rough as it gets.
I have some Raider friends. I have Raider friends that play on the team. And I know some people that are out right now. They have to be disappointed. I haven't talked to them. But they have to be disappointed. When I watched this game tonight, it almost made me throw up. I was just, it's just the organization in terms of organizing your team. They got to know where to go. You can tell this team right here, to me tonight showed me like, dang, this is the first time. Is this the first time they just got their playbook? This is like really like to me it looked like the
it's
first
a serious question.
Yeah, and to me it looked like it was the first day of camp.
Yes,
That's what it looked like to me. You know, when you watch this game, that's what it looked like. Like I said, Raider fans out there, I'm sorry, I'm not a Raider fan, but you have to be as a true passionate Raider fan. This has to be a disservice to you. The performance that you saw today. You spend your hard-earned money to come out here and play season tickets to watch the Raiders play, especially you Oakland fans out here that are coming to see the Raiders play every single week. You come out here, and I understand riding with your team to the end of the time, but it's a disservice when you can't get a performance that is at least average, an average performance. To me, this was below average. Well, you can't even get a performance that these guys, they're supposed to come out here and this is their job to perform well. To me, it looked like today they got their play. This is the first day they got their playbook. That's what it looked like today. And you Raiders fans have to be extremely disappointed. I'm sorry. You have to be disappointed. I'm disappointed. I'm not even a Raider fan. I'm disappointed to see what I saw. You have to be. I'll be going. You know what? I'll be going to that press box, that concession stands, whatever. I want free hot dogs and everything, and I want my money back for this ticket because you have to be upset as a Raider fan to see what you saw today. Bottom line.
Most improved player in the AFC at this point.
In the AFC?
Yeah.
Most improved player?
You know what? The whole league.
In the whole league? Okay. Okay. In the whole league, you have to go with, that's a hard question, Brad. But if
I'll give you mine at first.
Give me yours.
So I got Andrew Luck. Believe it or not, I've been impressed with him. Now, the bar for me was very low. We've done so many shows over the summer, and, it took him so long to throw a football for the first time after all the surgeries last year and sitting out all of 2017. I didn't have a whole lot of expectations for Andrew Luck this year or beyond, for that matter. I thought I really didn't know if we'd ever really see him again in a full, under center mode throughout an entire game. I don't know if we'd see that again. He's looked good this year. This is it's a Colts team that's obviously maybe a year or two away. They need to do a better job, I think, in the front office developing and drafting some players. But I actually like how he gels in Frank Reich's system. Again, they're winning a couple games. They're not impressing by any stretch of the imagination too much, but he has done some things this year that to me have blown me away because I just didn't think physically he would be able to do it. I think he has been maybe the most improved player so far this year.
You know what I'm going with? I'm going with Adrian Peterson.
That's a good one.
I'm going to Adrian Peterson. This guy who recanted his whole career right here. I think this was his last stop in
it sure looked that way.
In the Washington Redskins.
Yep.
He went over to Arizona, didn't get a fair shot. He went over to the Saints. He thought he was going to get a fair shot. He went over the Redskins, he went over to Arizona. Didn't work out well to me. To him. He went over now to Washington Redskins, and it just happened to be a perfect fit. And he has been doing exceptionally well. And I thought that his career was ended after the Saints. And Adrian Peterson has emerged to, doing things where basically, I'll say this, even fantasy, people are picking up and starting him. Before, they weren't for the last 2 years. He is now a guy that you want to pick up and play. And he is playing exceptionally well, man. He's highly respected in the league for what he's done in the past. And that, to be honest with you, I think Washington is going to be his official home. That's going to be a place he's going to retire. And he is doing well, and the system has treated him well, and you know what? It's the perfect system what he's doing. So I'm going with Adrian Peterson.
Speaking of the Redskins, so we did most improved players. My most improved team is the Washington Redskins. Keith.
Wow,
I have been beyond impressed. I did not think at this point in the season, going into Week 9, they would be sitting atop the NFC East division over the defending champion Eagles. I wasn't high on the Giants. I thought they would be rough again this year. Maybe not this bad again at 1-7, but I thought they would struggle over the Dallas Cowboys as well. Redskins 5-2 atop the NFC East. That to me is really impressive. Alex Smith coming in for Kirk Cousins, essentially. Cousins going to the Vikings, obviously, this offseason. I thought that would be a downgrade for the Redskins. They're in a better spot right now than they really ever were with Kirk Cousins at quarterback there. And some guys, it just works better than others in certain situations. Who would have thought at the beginning of the season that Jay Gruden would be in a better spot right now than John Gruden?
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. I mean, Jay Gruden, he was one of the top guys like on the hot seat about to be kicked right out of Washington. And here he is right now, maybe potential Coach of the Year honors.
Yeah.
Mention at least, honorable mention, some consideration. Wow, I am totally blown away by what Washington has done so far this year. Like you said, a whole lot of Adrian Peterson. He's found the fountain of youth. This is a team that plays, they're a smart football team. Not too many penalties this year. Good, tough players on defense, good special teams, and won a tough game against Dallas at home a couple of weeks ago now. I've been impressed. I got to say, to me, they're the most improved team.
That's a strong most improved. But you know what I'm going to go with? I'm going to Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Kansas City Chiefs, man. Kansas City Chiefs has been this team where
they're kind of finally put it together talent-wise.
They put it together. I think we're forgetting another team was the Rams. The Rams are arguably the best team in the league.
Absolutely.
They're the team that has that was eliminated in the first round last year. They're the team that now is the force to be reckoned with. It's the team to beat in the team to beat in the NFC, and the team to beat. That's just all around. They're the power rank. They're the number one team. But I'm gonna go back to this: the Kansas City Chiefs, man. The Kansas City Chiefs is a team that was eliminated in the also as well was eliminated in the playoffs this past last year. They found Alex Smith left. They found a emerge of Mahomes, and Andy Reid saw something in this guy. This guy's now breaking major records, and now they're a team in the AFC that's the number one team, and that is the team to beat. Even though the Patriots beat them, they're still the number one team to beat. And so, I think that it has to go with the most improved. It has to go between those two. But if I had to select between those, if I had to lean more towards a team in terms of those two teams, it would probably have to do with the Rams because they're 8-0, man. They're undefeated. They haven't been beaten. They have been aggressive, getting guys in trades. They're a team that they're looking at and they're saying, look, we're trying to win a championship this year. We're trying to make that go to Atlanta this year and win it all. And you know what? We're a team that's to be reckoned with, and man, it's going to be a sight to see if they get there because they got a strong team, a defensive front. They got a strong offensive front, and man, they're 8-0, man. It's hard to not put them.
I think we kind of expected the Rams though to be really good. I don't know, undefeated. I mean, that's obviously through the roof.
Yeah.
But I just when I look at most improved, for me, I base it off of what teams out there that I think will be bad that are now good. Mm-hmm. Not so much like I expected the Rams. You know what I mean? With all their whole all-in mentality this offseason, all the guys they signed. To me, it's. I mean, yeah, absolutely, they improved as far as being undefeated, but. You know what I mean? I want to give the nod more so to the teams who I thought would be bad and actually look good. Now.
Yeah, I understand that. I totally understand that. And when I look at it, my perspective, I'm looking at the teams that like, wow, that I didn't think that would be a team that's number one in the NFL. And right now, I never thought the Rams would be the number one team in the NFL. I never did. I never thought that Kansas City would be where they're at after they lost Alex Smith. I didn't think Patrick Mahomes was going to be this good.
I can't wait for that matchup. Kansas City, L.A. in a couple weeks. That's going to be off the charts.
It's going to be off the charts. So, those are my two teams.
It's Behind the Mic. We're live on KABC Radio. A quick break, and we're back after this.
KABC News, live and local at 11:30. I'm Liz Warner. An LAPD motorcycle officer was seriously injured tonight in a crash in the Mid-City area. The crash occurred at 10:10 p.m. near the intersection of Arlington Avenue and 27th Street, according to Officer Rosario Herrera of the LAPD's Media Relations Division. The injured officer was taken to a hospital in serious condition, and one person is in custody. An Uber driver is behind bars for allegedly trying to kidnap customers. Here's James Rojas. A non-injury fire tonight at a house in Hollywood prompted an arson investigation because it appeared to have been set in multiple locations, authorities said. The fire was reported just before 8 p.m. in a single-family home on the 5600 block of Lexington Avenue, north of Santa Monica Boulevard, according to Margaret Stewart of the L.A. Fire Department. 31 firefighters responded and knocked down the fire in 22 minutes. State Department spokeswoman Heather Nauert is reportedly being offered the job of UN ambassador. KABC News Time is 11:31 with dependable traffic when you need it most.
It's still backed up in Santa Clarita, northbound Golden State Freeway, cleaning up after an earlier problem at Calgrove, and it's the three left lanes of traffic closed there, and so still cleaning up, and it's a pretty solid backup to the 210. Also, watch for some slowing on the southbound Golden State Freeway through Burbank. You're going to be slow from Verdugo Avenue to just past the 134, and also northbound 5, work zone 5, northbound 2 right lanes closed between Norwalk Boulevard and the 605 until 5 a.m. KABC has dependable traffic when you need it most. I'm Cindy Berkey, Talk Radio 790 KABC.
Today only at Kohl's. Shop select Black Friday deals. Plus, more bang for your buck. Get $15 Kohl's cash for every $50 spent. Family jammies are 50% off. Women's fashion boots are $29.99. And plush throws are just $8.99. Plus, take an extra 20% off. Get Black Friday deals today only at Kohl's. Select styles November 1st only. 20% offer with promo code CHILI. Some exclusions apply. See store or kohls.com for details.
This is a court-ordered notice. Current and former Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury owners or lessees can receive payments and other benefits from a legal settlement related to allegedly defective Takata airbags in their vehicles. To see if your vehicle is included and to file a claim, go to autoairbagsettlement.com or call 1-888-735-5596. That's autoairbagsettlement.com or 1-888-735-5596.
When your drains are clogged, your sink's backed up, your toilet's on the fritz. And when you need a plumber now, just simply call Ritz. We're master plumbers, we're really nice. We're big on service, not on price.
Call Ritz Plumbing at 888-757-RITZ. No rooter man here, only full-service professional plumbers. Got a kitchen or bath problem? Need an earthquake valve installed? How about a tankless water heater? Ritz Plumbing specializes in trenchless sewer repair, drain cleaning and maintenance, and yes, they have rooter service too. Plus, 18-month financing is possible. Call 888-757-RITZ. Ritz Plumbing, they are the real thing. Only full-service professional plumbers. And here comes the clean pipe chorus. Hit it, guys.
So when you need some plumbing in California, yeah, simply call Ritz. Don't flush your money away. Ritz.
Ritz Plumbing, 888-757-RITZ.
You're listening to Behind the Mic with Brad Dalius.
Hey, be sure to check out our weekly fantasy football videos. We post them each and every late Wednesday night after the program, very early Thursday morning. That's up on our Instagram, BTM with Brad. If you're huge fantasy fans, you don't want to miss it. Another week, obviously, kicking off tonight. Still no sight of Le'Veon Bell. I know Keith just loves that. His top running back he selected
Peachy.
continues to hold out on him.
Yeah,
He clearly hasn't gotten the memo, Keith.
Yeah, he hasn't gotten the memo out. Hey, Le'Veon Bell, if you hear me right now, you need to get your tail back on the field because you're really hurting my fantasy right now. That's the bottom line. Get back on the field, Le'Veon.
Soon enough. We'll probably see him back out there. Meanwhile, we're giving out NFL grades tonight at the halfway point of the season. We'll continue to do so as we go along during this final half hour of the show. Big interview now, though. We're going to switch gears to. Earlier today, we had a chance, Keith and I, to catch up with Steve Espinosa. He is the president of Showtime Sports to talk about Shut Up and Dribble, the 3-part documentary series that's chronicling the modern history of the NBA and kind of combining together some of the social issues of today that some of the players are so passionate about off the court itself. Earlier today, let's play part one of that interview now. Once again, here is Steve Espinosa, the president of Showtime Sports, earlier today. We're now joined by Steve Espinosa, the president of Showtime Sports, to discuss the upcoming Showtime documentary Shut Up and Dribble. It comes out this Saturday, November the 3rd. Steve, great to have you on the show today. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
It's our pleasure. We can't wait to chat with you here about everything that this documentary presents to all of its viewers. And, it comes out this weekend. How excited are you right off the bat for this to come out and for people to witness this great project that Showtime put together?
We're thrilled. We started from a sort of general concept, and this is almost 2 years ago. I mean, the documentary process is always longer than I think most people expect. But this one started with a general concept, which is that the NBA is the league that most impacts American and to a larger extent world society and culture, everything from business to music to fashion to politics. And we were looking at a broad range. And then as things developed over the last couple of years, and we're all aware of a multitude of things that have developed over the last couple of years, we honed in a little bit more on some of the political aspects, not to the exclusion of others, but it sort of came to the forefront naturally.
Hey, Steven, what was your first reaction when this was presented to you that they wanted to do, or Showtime and the executives wanted to do this documentary?
I was thrilled. I've always been an NBA fan, and, it is, as an NBA fan, and even just as an interested business person, it's really interesting to see the momentum that they have gotten over the last 3 or 4 years. A lot of other sports, the NBA is star-driven, so when you have a Magic and a Larry Bird, then that pushes you to new heights, or a Michael Jordan or an Iverson or a Kobe, or now you've got an entire wave of guys from, the legends like LeBron to the newer guys like Steph and KD, and then even rookies coming and making big impacts. So it was a phenomenal idea. And then when the political aspect became a little more active, and LeBron engaged directly with Trump in a sort of very spirited back and forth, that sort of said, we're on to something that is contemporary and current, and that we can explore in a different sort of way by not only going through the history of how did we get here, but what does it mean today to be an NBA athlete, and to a certain extent, an African-American NBA athlete, and what responsibilities does that bring, what opportunities to speak politically and otherwise does that come along with it.
Because the NBA is so star-driven, do you think it would be different if the NFL or the National Hockey League, Major League Baseball was putting together a doc series like this? Is there maybe more so, a sense of like responsibility taken by the players and by everyone who's putting this together because of, the long history of all the stars in the NBA and how they're more so brought out and to the forefront, sort of say? Do you think it would be different?
I think a little bit so. The NBA is star-driven, so by definition, the stars in the NBA, because there are fewer of them, there's only 12 active guys on a roster for each team, as opposed to 53 for the NFL, for example. When you have fewer guys, each of them becomes more important, and the stars become even that more important and powerful. So that, in some way, shields you from the kind of scrutiny or maybe the repercussions that someone like Colin Kaepernick believes that he has faced. So, yes, this is specific to the NBA to some extent, but we also have to remember, the NBA went through the kinds of political growing pains that the NFL is going through today with Kaepernick and others. It's just that the NBA did that about 20 years ago. And not many people who are not hardcore fans remember Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, but it's a very similar thing to the Kaepernick situation. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, formerly Chris Jackson from LSU, decided that as part of his conversion, or at least related to his conversion to Islam, he would no longer stand from the anthem. And that predictably caused a lot of a lot of concern and a lot of divisiveness at the time. Now, the difference between the NBA and the NFL is the NBA was able to, at this time, and this is mid to late 90s, was negotiate a compromise. It was still controversial, but at least there was a compromise where it wasn't quite what Abdul Rauf wanted. It wasn't quite what the NBA owners wanted. It was somewhere in between, and they could both say, okay, I can live with this resolution, which is something that the NFL hasn't quite been able to achieve yet.
Hey, Steve, let me ask you, because you mentioned Colin Kaepernick, and you see LeBron James. He has his hand in this documentary, Shut Up and Dribble, and I want to know how excited you were that he was actually had his hands a part of that. But also, Colin Kaepernick. Do you think that the way Colin Kaepernick had protested national anthem, if he had did it in a different way, where something like what you see LeBron James has done with Shut Up and Dribble, and kind of put a docuseries or himself, something like that, that it probably would have turned out a little bit different for him?
Well, there's probably some, in terms of the Kaepernick question, I think there is some validity to what you're suggesting. I mean, the flag and patriotism and toward country, that's always something that people feel very strongly about. Mm-hmm. So there is a level of sensitivity around that, particularly when we start talking about people who've committed their lives and in some cases given their lives for military service. But the other factor is that maybe Colin did not take into account, and really couldn't have taken into account, is the Trump factor. And regardless of where you are in terms of politics, I think it's a fair statement to say that Trump sort of seized on this and made this a political issue, and in some ways turned it into something other than what Colin intended it as. It now became not really a discussion about police misconduct and inequality in American society. It became about, do you respect the flag or not? Are you disrespecting the flag? And that's not something that Colin did. That's something that Trump did when he rephrased the discussion. So yes, it was a sensitive matter to start with, and then you combine the Trump factor, who sort of I'd say maybe twisted a little bit for use in his political base, and you've got a very combustible situation. And against that backdrop, for LeBron to be able to say, look, I'm going to wade into this area as well. And he certainly already had on a personal level in terms of, he and Steph engaging with Donald Trump over the issue of NBA teams visiting the White House. But now in a much more sort of tangible way for him to back this documentary that looks at not just today what players are doing politically, or NBA players doing politically, but really why do the LeBrons and Carmelo Anthonys and Dwayne Wade and many others, why do they have the freedom? Why do they feel comfortable standing up politically today? And for LeBron, it was a very simple answer. It's because there were the Bill Russells and the Kareem Abdul-Jabbars and Spencer Haywood and even Craig Hodges and Abdul Rauf through over time, developed their own voices and stood up for their own independence and autonomy, so much so that by the time we get to LeBron's generation, it's something that had been in the works for decades and was that much easier. Not easy per se, but certainly easier for LeBron and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and others to be able to make political statements, overt political statements, without getting to, as much repercussions maybe as they would have in a different era.
So there's part one of Steve Espinosa from earlier today. On the other side, we'll give you part two. Stick around. Brad and Keith taking you up to the top of the hour live here on KBC Radio.
This is an advertisement by the Dampier Law Firm of 55 North Section Street, Fairhope, Alabama. No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers. Attention, all Uber drivers. If you are a current or former Uber driver, listen closely, as you may be entitled to significant cash compensation. That's right, if you drove for Uber anytime within the last 3 years, you may be entitled to significant cash for unpaid wages. Call 800-764-5508 right now. Uber may be in violation of federal federal and state employment laws. The FTC accused Uber of misleading drivers about how much they could earn, and Uber settled for $20 million last year. If you drove for Uber part-time or full-time during the last 3 years, you may be entitled to significant cash compensation. Call 800-764-5508. If you drove for Uber, call now to see if you qualify. Time is limited. Call 800-764-5508 now. That's 800-764-5508. 800-764-5508.
The national debt is now over $20 trillion. What happens next? Rising inflation drops in the dollar's value. Some experts say another crash is coming. You can fight this, not with stocks or bonds, but with gold and silver coins in an IRA from Augusta Precious Metals. Call 855-858-5807 and learn how an IRA backed by physical gold and silver can hedge against inflation. Call Augusta Precious Metals right now at 855-858-5807 and get a free gold IRA guide. Call 855-858-5807.
Here's a gift you can open early. Up to 40% off appliance special buys, plus up to $500 in instant savings now at the Home Depot. Like a Whirlpool stainless steel top freezer refrigerator, just $528. As far as your other gifts, no peeking. This is how to get Black Friday savings early on appliances. Now at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. U.S. only. While supplies last. Instant savings require a minimum purchase of 2 select appliances to qualify. See store for details. Valid through November 29th.
This is Behind the Mic with Brad Dalius.
Welcome back, Behind the Mic, live here on Talk Radio 790 KABC. Brad and Keith taking you up into the top of the hour. Final segment here on tap. We broke down earlier tonight the Raiders falling to the Niners 34-3 on Thursday Night Football. We started to give out some awards as well for the first half of the NFL season. We got a couple more towards the end of the show. Back now to our interview, though, with Steve Espinosa, the president of Showtime Sports. Here's part 2 of that interview from earlier today. What is the input of some of the older NBA players, Steve, in this documentary, if not in it, outside of it, and just kind of commenting from afar? If at any, what has their opinion been so far of this documentary, or what do you think it will be once it comes out?
Well, there's a range. I mean, it's interesting to go back and hear guys like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar say the things that he was saying when he was playing, and they're pretty, they're pretty controversial. Even today, they would be controversial, and even back then. And one of the things that Kareem says is, if you live in a racist society, then it's upon you to do something about it. And clearly he wasn't speaking in the abstract. He was sort of suggesting American society at the time, had racist elements. So to hear him saying that, and this is, 30 years ago, plus, is you can imagine the sort of courage that it took to say that, in the 80s, early 80s, late 70s, just the bravery and the courage and what sort of conviction he had to be able to say that at this point. And then we have more recent things. I mean, we went to one of the things that I thought was sort of funny in this is, we covered, it's not an overtly political thing, but it certainly shaped the NBA and perception of the NBA in Malice at the Palace. And we went to talk to Steven Jackson about it, who was, one of the players most directly involved. And the first, we thought, okay, maybe this is a touchy subject. And, we sat him down. The first thing he says is, "Are you going to ask me about Malice at the Palace? I love talking about that." And
did that surprise you?
The opposite. Yeah. It did, because you would have thought, oh, that's a chapter everyone wants to forget.
Yeah.
And you forget these things that may have been sort of infamous moments or famous moments in NBA history. They're also moments in individuals' history. This was a sort of pivotal moment in Steven Jackson's life. It was a defining moment for Ron Artest, in certain ways. So it's not just an NBA incident. There are individuals who lived and breathed these incidents and dealt with the repercussions as well.
How excited was, when LeBron James and Maverick Carter, how excited are they in terms of being a part of Showtime and also Shut Up and Dribble and this documentary and just partnering with you guys and working with you guys on this? How excited were they when this was like completely done? They wrapped and finished this docuseries.
I think what excited all of us from Spring Hill, LeBron and Mavericks company through Showtime and our director Gautam Chopra was the ability to do something that was more than a sports documentary. And I love sports documentaries, and I'll watch just about everything. But this isn't just a sort of history of the NBA documentary. This is something that is much more weighty, that looks like the cultural impact and the ways that society and culture affect the NBA and vice versa. And looking and seeing, look, these guys are not just basketball players. There are ways that many of us are not really even aware of that they influence business and culture and music and politics. You don't have to look any further than Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan launched an entire business of sneakers. The sneaker world would not be anything like it is today if not for Michael Jordan and Nike. If Michael, tears a ligament in his knee, his junior year at North Carolina, never comes out, and then we're probably not wearing sneakers, certainly to the extent they have, and Nike isn't one of the most well-known companies in the world. So it isn't just limited to politics, although that's certainly one of the things that's in the headlines today. It's all the ways that, from sneakers to pregame fashion. You see what Dwayne Wade and Russell Westbrook and others, now it's almost a part of your pregame routine. What was he wearing pregame? What was he wearing postgame? The Cam Newton, the NFL has adopted it as well. So it's all these things around the sport that make us that we need to look at. And remember, this isn't just a sport. There are ways in which these athletes and the sports affect culture, and there are changes that they actually impact in a very meaningful way.
Do you believe this documentary will ultimately help to take the conversation away from the playing court, the playing field, and maybe more onto, out into the community? Like you said, you talked about some of the things right there, guys trying to make good in their own community and then, branch off into others as well. Is that maybe ultimately the goal with this, to get it out of, the spirited debating back and forth between players and political figures, but, more so guys just trying to focus on the issues, again, kind of away from the playing field itself?
That's right. It isn't about, hey, did someone disrespect the flag, or do they love the military, or do they hate our country or love our country? This is about, those of us who are fortunate enough to be in positions of influence, whether it's in politics, in the community, or as athletes. What is the responsibility, and what can they affect? What kinds of discussions, what kind of meaningful change can they affect? Whether it's something as tragic as the Trayvon Martin situation, or Eric Garner, or any of the police incidents recently. How can these members of society help shape behavior, help improve our society, help improve the way we get along with each other as different ethnicities, different religions, different, economic statuses? What is the role of the athlete, and how can they contribute off the court in ways that make our society better?
He's Steve Espinosa, president of Showtime Sports. Don't forget, Shut Up and Dribble, the 3-part documentary series, comes out this Saturday, November 3rd on Showtime. Steve, we appreciate the time today. All the best to you going forward, and all the best with this documentary series as well.
Thanks. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you, Steve.
There you go. Once again, Steve Espinosa on Behind the Mic earlier today. Great to catch up with him, get his thoughts. We talked with him not too long ago, Keith, at the Wilder Fury press conference in downtown L.A., and he was just as great then as he was today. He's got a lot to say about this documentary. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm so much more, I'll tell you this, I'm a whole lot more intrigued to check this out now after talking to him than I was before.
Yeah, me too. Like, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, LeBron James is producing it. That's what you first, initially look at. You're like, okay, I'll take a look at it. But when he told us more in detail what it's going to be about and gave us some more insightful information on it. It just made me want to say, you know what, like you said, I was really intrigued, and I said, you know what, I'm really going to sit down and watch this whole series documentary. And everybody out there should definitely do it as well. I think this is documentary, and just within itself, it tells it's not for you people out there that think it's just strictly political. It's not just political. You know, this documentary is not about just being political. It's more than that.
Yeah, and that's the thing I think we definitely wanted to get out of him.
Yeah.
And I tried to, you as well, obviously, to get that out of Steve earlier, was that, let's take these issues and let's get them off the court and let's actually go out and solve some of the things in the community.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And I think, getting the history part of basketball and some of the older guys' inputs and opinions, I think it's great. I'm really intrigued to check it out.
Yeah, and you know what? And you look at the people that are in this, like you mentioned, like Steph Curry is going to be in it. You're going to hear his whole thing of everything that's going on. He's been very opinionated on just not political views, but just things that was going on in the community. And there's going to be several athletes, and not just athletes, but also leaders out there that do more than just talk about politics. And so, this is a really great documentary to watch. I can't wait. I'm going to watch every bit of it, and that I think that everybody out there should definitely take a look at it. Coming I think this Saturday is when it premieres.
That's right.
I'm excited for it.
Be sure to check it out. Real quick, couple notes to pass along before we go off the air. The Dodgers are expected to retain Dave Roberts as their manager heading into next season. Also, they bring back David Freese on a one-year deal. And the last one, Keith, the World Series trophy, believe it or not, was actually broken during the World Series championship parade in Boston yesterday. Somebody apparently threw a beer can from the crowd at it and knocked off one of the flags on the commissioner's trophy. So they have to get it repaired now. Unbelievable.
Jeez.
You can't make this stuff up, folks.
SMA, shaking my head.
That's it for tonight. We'll talk to you tomorrow. For Keith, I'm Brad. Keep living the dream.
Behind the Mic, furnished by Dalius Media.
KABC, Los Angeles, Orange County, a Cumulus station.
This is Trump's latest election season response to two caravans of migrants heading toward the U.S.-Mexico border. The Florida man accused of sending pipe bombs to critics of President Trump is due in court today for a bail hearing.
Federal prosecutors contend that 56-year-old Cesar Sayoc should remain in jail until trial, given the magnitude of charges and evidence against him. But perhaps more importantly is the issue of when he should be moved from a detention center in Miami to New York. Sayoc is accused of sending more than a dozen pipe bombs to prominent Democrats and CNN offices in Atlanta and the Empire State, and he faces up to nearly 50 years in prison if convicted on 5 federal charges. I'm Sierra Crawford.
President Trump was upbeat about his talk with China's president aimed at resolving bitter trade disputes. China's foreign ministry called the conversation quite positive. Correspondent Bill Michaels reports that the evidence has become more clear that there is a link between cancer and cell phone radiation.
That's according to the National Institutes of Health. The NIH report says there is clear evidence that male rats exposed to high levels of radio frequency radiation, like that used in 2 and 3G cell phones, developed cancerous heart tumors. The conclusion comes from a final report on research evaluating the effect of radio frequency radiation, which is used in cell phones.
Apple warned that sales for the holiday quarter would likely miss Wall Street expectations. The rather lackluster forecast sent shares down by as much as 7%, and in return, that forced Apple's market value below $1 trillion. I'm Barbara Cusack.
790 KABC News, live and local at 12:02. I'm Mark Mayfield. A man suspected of burglaries in Malibu and Calabasas is staying in jail a while longer. Anthony Rauda disrupted a hearing in court yesterday.
Your Honor, I'd like to speak.
You don't have a right to speak.
I'm done But you speak through your attorney. No, I'm not going to speak. I'm not going to cooperate with the public defender's office anymore.
Rauda didn't show up as scheduled in the morning, and at the afternoon session, he wanted the judge to fire his public defender. The judge refused, and the hearing was cut off when Rauda began banging on his holding cell. He's set to appear later again this month, and he's being held without bail. Investigators are looking into a possible connection between Rauda and a string of shootings in the area, including one that killed a camper. And a second former staffer for Los Angeles City Councilman Jose Huizar is suing the city for retaliation and wrongful termination. Pauline Medina says she was punished for complaining about Huizar having an extramarital relationship with a staff aide and also a lack of boundaries in the workplace. In a statement, the councilman called Medina a disgruntled former employee and says the lawsuit is full of misrepresentations. 790 KABC Sports, the 8-0 Rams back on the field and taking on the Saints Sunday. KABC weather, sun and clouds today with 85 for a high at 67 in Granada Hills, 60 in Garden Grove, and 65 downtown. Here's traffic on KABC.
Still have cleanup and investigation underway on the Golden State Freeway in Santa Clarita. It's the northbound side of the 5 at Calgrove. 3 right lanes of traffic are taken away. This was a fatal accident, so crews are working there, and the drive there is backed up to before the 210, and there's Caltrans work ahead on the North 5 between Hasley Canyon and Lake Hughes Road. 2 right lanes are blocked, so you're going to see some more slowing on the northbound side. There's also a problem on the Hollywood Freeway in the Cahuenga Pass, 101 southbound at Cahuenga Boulevard. 2-car wrecks in the right lane, so you're going to see some slowing as you head southbound from as you approach there's about a quarter mile slowing there. And otherwise, freeway speeds are pretty good right now overall. KABC has dependable traffic when you need it most. I'm Cindy Berkey, Talk Radio 790 KABC.
Hi, this is Peter Tilden, and I got to tell you, I've been promoting Natron's Healthy Trinity Probiotics on the radio for over a decade. They changed my life, my wife's life, many of our listeners' lives. They feel better, and you could too. Listen to what Dr. Chris Diadamo, the Director of Research at the Center for Integrative Medicine at the University of Maryland School of Medicine, has to say.
If you experience gas, bloating, indigestion, loose stool, or constipation, this is not something that you just have to deal with. But I was actually introduced to Natron Probiotics for my own personal use. I had been suffering from persistent indigestion, and nothing I had tried had really helped me until I tried Natron Probiotics. Natron Probiotics provide sustained relief and greatly improved my quality of life to this day, just as they have for countless people across the world. I'm a real believer in the power of Natron Probiotics, and as a result, I recommend them to literally everybody. If your probiotic doesn't say Natron on the label, you'll never feel the Natron difference.
Others promise, Natron delivers, except no substitute. Go to natron.com or the probiotic cooler section at Whole Foods, Sprouts, or your favorite health food store.
Debbie needed a plumber. The first one she called showed up late and pretended to fix her problem, but the problem returned a few days later. So she called the Smell Good plumbers at Mike Diamond.
That's when she met Edgar, who Debbie refers in her letter as, quote, new best friend and personal plumber.
Debbie says Edgar was outstanding in every way. He smiled, fixed her plumbing, and left her house cleaner than it was before. And afterwards, he sent her a thank you card. Debbie continues by saying she didn't know there were still people out there who took pride in their work. She says the Smell Good plumbers have set the bar so high that no other service company can compare.
Thanks, Debbie. Our goal is to make a painful experience as pleasant as possible, and we're thrilled to have done that for you.
You can read Debbie's letter and many more on the testimonials page at MikeDiamond.com.
I'm Mike Diamond, and I guarantee my plumbers will show up on time and smell good, or your house call is free.
Call 1-800-446-MIKE. Contractor license number 399170.
Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. This is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, 86690 Red Eye. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Thanks so much for being here this morning. Just reading an interesting op-ed piece here from Kimberly Strassel of the Wall Street Journal. You see her out there, too. Is she a Fox News contributor? I know she's on Fox a lot. I don't know if she's a contributor.
I don't know officially if she is or just a guest.
Yeah, I see her a lot on there. But she wrote a decent column. Just want to read a couple of sentences because I think it's really good as to what's happening. She talks about that if Democrats do win the House. And she talks about the fact that they're winning in the House because they're trying, as you and I have said, they're back to where they were in 2006. Let's pretend we are not liberals. That's how they're winning. As she says, meanwhile, to the extent that the Democrats are winning, it has been in large part due to the party leaders' quiet efforts to sequester that movement. Yes, talk show hosts have made a darling of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the progressive activist who defeated incumbent Representative Joe Crowley in the New York primary, and liberal pundits are already claiming a victory by left-wing Tallahassee Mayor Andrew Gillum in Florida's gubernatorial race that it will prove America aches for Medicare for all. But on the ground, Mr. Gillum and Ocasio-Cortez are anomalies in this cycle. The far bigger, if less covered story is to the extent in which Democrats have run candidates with conservative credentials or candidates who can't run fast enough from liberal positions. For all the talk of the year of the woman, it is equally the year of the Democratic veteran. In battleground after battleground district, Democrats recruited former service members as their candidates. Amy McGrath in Kentucky, Richard Ojeda in West Virginia, Jason Crow in Colorado, Jared Golden in Maine, Connor Lamb in Pennsylvania, Mickey Sherrill in New Jersey, Max Rose in New York. By at least one count, more than half the veterans who have run in 2018 are Democrats. A huge shift, and the reason some traditionally GOP districts are competitive. Senate races, meanwhile, have been entirely defined by the extent to which Democratic candidates have positioned themselves as moderates. Arizona's Kirsten Sinema, a self-described Pravda socialist, and one-time anti-war activist, now insists she would be an independent voice in favor of bipartisanship. Nevada's Jackie Rosen was one of 3 House Democrats who voted in September to make the Trump individual tax cuts permanent. Missouri incumbent Claire McCaskill is running a radio ad boasting she's not one of those crazy Democrats. Asked on Fox News about her Senate colleagues, she took a swipe at Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. All of this is reminiscent of 2006 and 2008, when Democrats won Congress by running moderates and then the White House by nominating a candidate who promised to unite the nation. Only after the party jerk left did the GOP win in a 2010 blowout. What will be different this time? The moment the polls close on Tuesday, it will be wheels up for the 2020 presidential campaign. And save for Joe Biden, every current leading contender for the Democratic nomination either was a ringleader of the Kavanaugh spectacle or is a progressive icon. If Democrats win the House on Tuesday, it will be despite this crowd, not because of it. They'd be wise to remember that a vote to rebuke President Trump's inflammatory politics isn't the same as an embrace of a progressive agenda or its candidates. The Democrats' own recent history and campaign strategy prove it. You and I have talked about this for a while, that the Democrats now, and it was after 2006, remember, and this is after they won in 2006, where they felt emboldened to get out there and promote the fact of what they would really do. And this is really the first time, really it's been 12 years where finally they realize we have to start pretending that we are not who we are. Otherwise, we cannot get elected. And I think that's a great point. On many of the things that they are promoting the image, as she writes, as hard as they can. Mm-hmm. That we are not the Democrats that you see each and every day. We're moderates.
Right.
We're veterans. Mm-hmm. We're pro-military. Mm-hmm. That's not who the Democratic Party is.
That's not where the party is, and I don't know what you do about that. I mean, so far, at least right now, it seems to be working for Joe Manchin, but you can't get away with that everywhere. You look at McCaskill, we'll see next Tuesday if she got away with it. Because the party has changed drastically since 2016. Think about the behavior we've seen from the party, not just people on the left, the party itself. We're talking about members of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Now, you can say in their viewpoints and things they have said in the past may be radical by comparison, but nothing like what we saw, especially during the Kavanaugh confirmation process. So you can't draw that back. We asked the question, how do you pull back from that? You can't. And the party can't. But more importantly, even if they tried, it's too late for them because, at least for this election cycle, because you've already made the impression on the American people. That's where the party is positioned by the actions and words of those members of the party that have acted this way. It doesn't matter who you are, you're not going to get away with it. Manchin is, certainly not going to be harmed by it just yet because he can vote with the Republicans. Well, you saw with, Claire McCaskill, that wasn't going to be the case. And then after she sided with her party and the radicals, tries to say that she's not one of the radicals.
Right.
She's not a crazy Democrat. Well, that's how you voted. Now you're trying to walk back your vote. It meant something. We're not talking about a bill. We were talking about seating someone on the high court. So I don't know where you change it. I don't think you do. Tell me what's going to change. Look at culture. Watch television for one day and look at all of the different shows that are out there and look at where you see. And we talked about yesterday on the show, we talked about the Hallmark Channel and where they found the niche is not including agenda. The only agenda is Christmas. And it is the reason it's a niche is because no one else is doing it. Nobody else is doing it. Everyone else has some kind of agenda. This is why what we're seeing the numbers go away from things like the NFL. It's not just the protests. It's that you also see it in the presentation in other ways, the presentation of the game, but also the commercials. I mean, it's everywhere. Agenda is everywhere, and people are just growing tired of it. They just turn away from it. So you can say you're not one of those crazy Democrats, but that just means that, well, you're not the party. You're not what the party is.
And the most important part of that Claire McCaskill ad, which we thought, and was it a week ago? Was it a week ago Friday when that came out? Because it seems like it's been a week. But immediately, that's when we started analyzing it. And again, we're just two idiots overnight, but we know enough. We know enough about politics that if you use specific words, that's what's being thrown back at you in your research. Mm-hmm. When you do your research and you're doing your polling, Claire McCaskill found out that in Missouri that people looked at her and looked at the Democratic Party. And I think you brought up the greatest point because we said they're not saying the what are some of the words that they've used in the past for gosh, I can't think of it here. Not crazy, but we're not part of the
fringe or extreme.
The fringe, extreme, mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. We're not part of the extreme of our party, and that extreme needs to go. Mm-hmm. They didn't use the term extreme.
Right.
They didn't use the term, I don't always, or she did have in there, I don't vote with the leadership all the time.
Right.
But to use the word, and this is what you stated, that crazy Democrat meant the word crazy must have come back at them. You have to separate yourself from the crazy Democrats, that even Democrats now realize that their party is viewed by a significant portion, and this is the danger here for the Democrats going forward, is that whether they take the House or not, this is still the danger going forward, is a perception from a significant portion of undecideds and maybe a majority of undecideds, which means independent voters, is that the Democratic Party is crazy. And it fits the memes that are out there. Look, I don't always agree with the Republican Party, but the Democrats are crazy.
Mm-hmm.
The Democrats are insane. And the reason that when we say it, or she says it, that, yeah, you had that one woman, the senator, who got upset at her, the state senator, and called her some interesting names. But for the most part, there wasn't a lot of screaming and yelling from Democrats about that, because Democrats all recognize when they do their polling, they now know that's how a significant portion of the population of America views them. Not that we disagree with you, but you people are crazy. You're just crazy. You're insane.
Well, and this whole, that we're going to, Nancy Pelosi, we're going to return to civility if we gain power again in the House. No, you're not.
No,
the
you're
reason is because of the people that support you and others in your party officially will not allow you to do that.
Well,
you can't remain quiet.
I think you have a significant number of independents out there that say, yeah, Trump's a loose cannon. I wish she'd shut up at times, but these people are nuts over here. I mean, they're just nuts. This isn't even about issues. This is the fact that these people are crazy. I don't know what they'll do next.
And again, what the fight has to keep going. Imagine that the Democrats do win the House on Tuesday. Well, that next 2 years is going to be what? The battle. Maxine Waters. Here we go. We're going to go to work as soon as we can. I mean, the idea from a Maxine Waters is we're going to, move toward impeachment.
Oh, yeah, Trump went off on Pelosi yesterday on that one, saying, go ahead.
Yeah.
We'll stall it for 2 years.
Right.
And we'll take it all the way to the Supreme Court. It won't get there
It'll be in the courts for 2 years.
Right. It'll be there by the time, and my point was he implying that the election will decide it, or that he's not going to run again?
Right.
He's going to run again.
He's going to run again. and
I had to throw it out there because it wasn't specific.
Look, we talked about what they can do, but then separate that from what they will attempt to do. Right. What they will actually get done versus what they will attempt to do. Go ahead and attempt it. Well, motivate his base like they've never been motivated.
Here's the thing with Trump right now. Yeah, impeach him. Go ahead.
Go for it.
Have that vote and impeach him and